What's one business belief you no longer hold?
What I sell is for everyone, or that I need to have everyone buy it.
So what's the best advice a mentor ever gave you?
Mark Heron told me, build a business where all of your business processes are documented.
What habit creates the most clarity in your life?
If it's one, I would say breath work.
What book has influenced your leadership thinking the most?
And one is a book by Thich Nhat Hanh called Peace is Every Step.
Welcome to I'm Up, He Sees Me, I'm Down. Conversations on leadership, faith, and resilience with Mike Turner. This show is proudly sponsored by Alamo Tech and Mission Solution Partners.
Welcome to another episode of I'm Up, He Sees Me, I'm Down. I'm Mike Turner, your host, and today we're talking with Dylan Bost. He's the founder of Sunny HQ, a company that provides human-first WordPress. Today we're welcomed by Dylan Bost. He's the founder of Sunny HQ, a company that provides human-first WordPress hosting and support for growing businesses. Drawing on more than 3 decades of experience in digital systems, design, operations, and entrepreneurship. Dylan helps founders remove the technical friction so they can focus on the work that truly drives growth. Before launching Sunny HQ, Dylan spent over a decade running a creative agency where he experienced the challenges that many founders face: reactive workflows, subjective client expectations, and operational complexity that slowly drains energy and focus. Those experiences inspired a complete rethink of how business can be built. Today, Dylan speaks and writes about leadership, systems alignment, intentional growth, and creating businesses that reflect personal values rather than external pressures. His upcoming book, The 7 Mirrors, explores the deep connections between memory, leadership, identity, and transformation. Thank you for joining us, Dylan. It's an honor to have you on my show, and based on your resume, man, it's going to be a great show.
No, thanks, Mike. Thanks so much for having me.
So let's just to dive into it a little bit. I really want the audience to kind of get up to speed on our first conversation. So you spent years building a successful agency before a major pivot. So what was happening behind the scenes? What was going on that most people never saw?
I love that word, pivot.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It was not so much it was a forced pivot. And I'd like to say I don't recommend this method to anyone. So to paint a picture, really wonderful agency, had great customers, had a full staff of about 25 people. Really, we had built this organically from a partner of mine, and I had grown this into a successful business. And, I'd like to say there was something that really killed it other than me, but there really wasn't. The reality was, I think at one point, during the best of times, I had this existential question of, why am I doing this? What's the value? What's the true value that I'm bringing? I didn't really say to the world, right? We hear this all the time. I want to make the world a better place. And I do. We all do, right? But it was more about just like recognizing there was this gap between what I did and really realizing, will anyone care about this in 10 years? And I couldn't answer that question. It was super, super tough for me to sit with. Because here again, as an entrepreneur, I ran a business. I either always had the answer or I knew how to find the answer really quickly. I'm really good at that. I'm good at solving puzzles. Here was the first puzzle at around age 40 that I couldn't solve. And so then, we moved forward a little bit, and it wasn't like I just said, oh, to hell with it. But I didn't really ask for help either. I didn't, go to my mentors and say, hey, what does this mean? For me, it was like, do I really want to do this anymore? Right. Financial pressures hit in 2008. They crushed a lot of businesses. They weren't completely crushing for us, but they did add a lot of fuel to this fire, because now for the first time, I was having to make decisions that I didn't want to make. Like, do I lay staff off? I started drinking earlier in the day, which is not a good solution for anyone. Right. And the reality is all that did is prolong the pain. That whole thing resulted in business closing, a bankruptcy, near dissolution of my marriage, almost, lost the relationships with my children. And honestly, it took, a couple of years after that to really recover personally from that, just to really kind of lick my wounds and realize, okay, I can do something better. And I'll be honest with you, it's interesting because I get asked this question a lot, like, what was that one thing? For me, there was a lot of things, right? There were a lot of contributing things that the turnaround for me, and I talk about this a lot now, is honestly just to sit with it. I got to a point where I had just enough work for us we had a house, we had food, we were, I think, renting cars at the time. But the reality was, I got to this place of this decision point is, do I want this to be my life forever, right? And part of me was like, yeah, I mean, this is kind of, you can coast through this. It's mediocre. You're starting to build a relationship with your family again. Kind of scared of work at that point because I'd done it. I'd done the 12 hours a day. I pushed hard at the sake of my family. And so, but I really, in this moment, and one afternoon, had enough silence around it. My family was at work and school that I really asked myself this question, and I just literally decided I don't want this forever. I'm ready to move forward. I need to start to integrate. I don't know what it is, right? But I'm going to start moving forward. And that's the thing I think, I talk about a lot is allowing ourselves enough air around everything in our life so that we can understand, our nervous system can acclimate to what's going on. We have the answers. All of us do. You just need time to let that answer come up so that you can make a decision. That's the other thing. Once you have the answer, you have a choice.
Yeah.
I could have sat there or I could move forward.
Right. And it's, you speak to this a little bit, and I think this is interesting, but a lot of people will sit with that in that paycheck or whatever they get and just coast that for 30 years. But you were like, you already knew yourself enough to go, I'm not able to do that. I'm not able to do the next 30 years of this or whatever, and I went through the same thing myself. It was a point where I was like, I just, and for me, I'm like you, I wasn't trying to save the world. I wasn't trying to, I mean, yes, I want to make the world a better place. I think inherently we all kind of want to do that, like you said. But for me too, I was like, success looks a little bit different now when I'm 50 years old than it looked when I was 25 years old, 30 years old, whatever. Like climbing the corporate ladder doesn't mean as much to me anymore. Maybe partly because I've climbed enough stairs on it or enough, of the ladder that I go, okay, well, that's a little different. Entrepreneurship is appealing because of the flexibility, but I don't think everybody really thinks through what it really means to be an entrepreneur. I mean, you're hitting on this. You had to make some tough decisions. I remember in 2008 myself making some tough decisions too. We had a staff of about 8 or so. We were an IT company, and we're like, I'm not sure we're going to make payroll this year. Like we're, this month. And those were.
That's a tough thing, right? That's a really tough thing. Those are your family.
Yeah.
And that's where I was. And I made the bad decision. It's like, well, let's just hold taxes and pay everybody. Well, that killed me, of course, in the long run. But I couldn't stomach the part of it was ego. There's no doubt. What does it look like when you have to start doing this? But a big part of it too is like, these are people that relied on me. And I was supposed to make it work, right? I'm guiding the ship, and now I've failed. I've gotten us into a place where I can't afford the oar, right? I can't afford the motor. You got to go. And I just didn't do that. That's a tough thing though.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, and no one will, challenge that. If anybody's sitting in that seat and has to do that, they will look at every alternative. And for me, it was like, well, I just won't take a paycheck. I won't take a paycheck for this month. What does that look like? Is enough to get there? And then it still wasn't enough, right? Because now, and I'm like, okay, we're in trouble. And so definitely understand that. So you talk about a little about learning what not to do. So what were some of the hardest lessons that forced you to rethink your business?
I think that, to me, I think the business stuff is easy. I think it's one of the big eye-opening experiences was to say, what does it mean to run a business? Okay. I mean, look, when you have a job or career and you work for someone else, it's pretty much defined. You do this for 8 hours and you get that, and the rest of the time you're off, right?
Right.
But when we're an entrepreneur, it's really tightly integrated with our family life or not, but that's our choice. And
Right.
so for me, it was really deciding that, look, if I'm going to start a new business, the business, yes, I need to recognize the customer that I'm after and what kind of revenue, but that's half the picture. The other half of the picture is how much time do I want to have available for my personal life and my family? I'd never done that before. You said
Yeah.
earlier, what does success look like? I think we're given this, this almost manual, this unspoken manual where it's money and accolades, right? Just
Yeah.
keep pursuing that thing at risk of everything else, even our own health, right?
Yeah.
I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to eat right. I don't have time but I'm doing this great. Well, it's more balanced. It needs to be more balanced. And so I took a look at, at the end of the day, when I started Sunny HQ, and sure, when you start any business, you need to work more in the beginning, but long term, when we hit our stride, I didn't want that business to take up more than 4 hours a day. Never.
Yeah.
Most of the time,
Right.
2 hours a day. I need to build something that has recurring revenue. I need to build something where the systems support the people. Systems don't support customers. Systems support our people that then support customers. But it's
Right.
a pyramid, right? So I've got one person at the top of the pyramid with a whole bunch of support underneath them. And that means I'm not managing. I didn't want to get into a position, right, where I'm not just dealing with customers, but I'm also managing now 50 people, which takes just as much time. And that's the
Yeah.
formula that I looked at. But the key was I want to have time so that when I leave work, I'm at home, not
Right.
distracted, really present in that environment.
No, that makes a lot of sense because, and that's how Sunny HQ kind of came about. So, and I mean, obviously you learn from some of those mistakes, things you didn't like, but, a WordPress, human first WordPress site is an amazing idea. So I think let's talk about that a little bit. So you morph into this new company and you're doing it differently. So what's different about
What's different, I think, and it starts with the word hosting.
it?
This
Yeah.
is hosting right now is and has always been described as this commodity. I mean, GoDaddy sells it for $3.99 a month,
Right.
and so that was the first thing that I saw in the market is there's a problem with that word. I can't fix it. I couldn't fix it. I still can't fix it. But what I can do is help people understand what hosting looks like to me,
Right.
because what I saw is the typical customer, which I would argue is every single one of them, right? Their idea of what hosting is means someone to take care of my website completely, not a storage unit for code, right? Not a
Right.
place where I stick my website and cross my fingers and hope everything goes great. They literally believe that when they host their website, somebody's looking at it, fixing it, they're tuning it, they're doing all the things,
Right.
whether they pay $3.99 or whether they pay $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
And so when we entered the marketplace, I said, well, I'm just going to give people what I know they want and what they're asking for, because I saw that's the friction point, right? I mean, the friction is customer logs into their portal with their existing host. They've got a problem. They submit it. They get back a highly technical answer about how it's all their fault, or they
Yeah.
need to update this, or they need to do that. That's not what we do.
Yeah.
First of all, it starts with a super incredible technology stack. We're equal with, for instance, let's say you're a yoga studio, you're literally going to be on the same technology platform that you would go out and procure for yourself for WP Engine or Kinsta or any one of the big guys,
Right.
and you'd pay probably $200 to $500 a month. You're going to get that with us for a fraction of that amount. But on top of that, we're managing the plugins, we're managing WordPress, the theme, conflicts, maintenance, backups, literally everything technical that needs to happen. The way I put it this way, imagine, because you, I'm sure, own or lease a car.
Yeah.
Imagine if you came out to your car literally every day and it was washed and waxed, the oil was changed, it's registered, the dent that you got in it yesterday is gone, right?
Yeah.
It's completely pristine. So you experience ownership of that car by
Yeah.
driving it.
Yeah.
That's what we do for websites. We literally, you have, in the website analogy,
Yeah.
You maintain the content. We'll even help you with that. If you want us to make a change, great.
Yep.
But you know your business, you know the content. So you do that. You literally have your hands off. Your hands off. I'll throw out all the acronyms, right? Your hands off DNS, FTP, SSH, none of that. You just log into WordPress, make your text changes. You know that Sunny HQ is literally doing everything else so that that website is optimized and running appropriately.
Yeah, man, and it, it's funny because we align in that. I mean, I'm doing the same exact thing at an IT level, right?
Mm-hmm.
I come in as a fractional and you just hand over your IT department to me, literally.
Mm-hmm.
Like you are no longer having to deal with technical issues or anything technical. You just say, hey, we need to align the mission of the organization and how can IT support that vertically? And I'm like, yep, that's what I'll do. This is how we'll do it. And then I'll have C-suite meetings and stuff like that and make sure everything underneath it matches up. It's a big component because again, we want their experience to be running the company.
Yeah.
Not having to learn what it means to have KPIs and our help desk meeting stuff,
Yeah.
Those things are like, no, let's just focus on you shaking hands with clients, you doing what you do, and we'll make sure everything else is running on the back.
Yeah,
So,
well, you know the deal. That's exactly it.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So let's spin this a little bit. So, as everyone is racing toward automation and AI, why are you doubling down on human first support?
Yeah, so I don't think anything's changed today than 20 years ago. The reality is systems are better, and there's no doubt we use a lot of AI. I'm not going to say but again, back to the pyramid, AI supports me, AI supports our people.
Right.
Maybe it will happen in the future. I don't know. When we're developing right now, we've just launched this whole agentic side of our business. But even in that, the reality is, okay, the super simplistic view, right, is that a customer, we had someone yesterday that came and said, well, can I have agents run that? I said, yeah, you can, but do you know how to do that? No, but you just talk to it. And I was like, no, that's not. Yes, you can. I talk to mine all the time, but it comes with 30 years of talking to it and communicating correctly, and also understanding when I get information back what that means. And so we're looking at those systems and we're helping to develop guardrails. But at the end of the day, for instance, for a WordPress website, what you're talking about, these things running, we're running agents to help update and keep things running smoothly. So on the content side, the way I say it this way, if you're ready to give over what that website looks like and says, because you've got an agent running it, good luck. The reality is you still have to have your eyes looking at it. Just like our team, automated WordPress updates have been out for years, but we use about 20% of those that are safe. The rest, what happens if something automatically updates your website and you have 2,000 people come to your website a month and something's wrong with the website? Worst case, a price is wrong or it communicates incorrect message. Well, you're going to lose a sale because you didn't look at it. Well, for us, if we have all those things automated running, it sounds great. We choose to push that down. We let those systems run and those processes run, and we've built like systems on systems to where we can now automate many of the updates, but there's a lot of even visual checks that happen to give us feedback so that, and it rolls it back and things like that. But at the end of the day, all that being said, what happens when a customer needs something done on their website? They do not want to, I use this example. Who out there loves to call any company and get a phone tree?
Right.
I mean, I don't. I mean, it's almost laughable now that they spend millions of dollars on these things, yet I call and I can't even, I've tried, I can't get to the right place. So I'm just we're all hitting zero.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the support business, right? No one wants to send an email because, again, language difference. So they look at their website like a human. It's like, and they're saying, I need to change Bill's email address and his LinkedIn. Well, AI doesn't really know where to find that, but a human does. Like my team knows because honestly, we look at their websites all the time. Go to Bill's, detail page, change this information. And that's a simple thing, but the reality is people don't want to talk to AI when it comes to this stuff.
AI is going to say, oh, that's in footer.tx, so
Right.
TSX,
Yeah.
and here's where it's at, and this is what you need to do. I'll go in between these blocks of
Yeah.
HTML, and you're like, you're just
Yeah.
you're just stood up. Yeah.
So we leverage the heck out of it, though. There's no doubt. I mean, we've built more systems in the last 6 months that help us offer better service. But
Right.
I've still, at the end of the day, person to person. Our emails that come in, they are not answered by AI. They are answered by human beings. And the cool thing is, they're not project managers and account people. They are WordPress experts. So we even yank that out of it. The reality is, I'm hosting Mike's website. Mike says, hey, guys, can you fix this? Sure we can, and it's done. That's why if you look at our support hours, it's like an hour and 2 hours and 4. We get asked this all the time because people are used to paying 10 hours a month.
Right.
And I'm like, just give it a try. You'll see, because to us, we don't record one request as an hour if it takes 3 minutes. I mean, and sometimes we don't even record it if it takes 3 minutes. It's got to hit a threshold for it to matter. And that's, so we're, people first all the way through. It's like, I understand you're running a business. My job is to help you be better.
Exactly. And, one of the points that I've been hearing is authenticity. So that's a big one too. You think about it, I think if you turned over those agents and have them start doing updates, where is the authenticity? Because I feel like if your agents are all set up, as much as prompting you do and guardrails, you do all that stuff, it's still going to take and learn what it's doing on everybody. I mean, it's just going to be exactly the same. There's nothing unique about it, and your niche is now gone. So whatever you were doing that's different, it's not relaying on your website anymore. And we can argue back and forth. Like a lot of companies will say, well, but I'll build that in. Well, it's still AI, and I've seen AI, and the AI that we have today and the AI we had, a year ago, it's still very much that same path. It's still going to build a purple website. So, so it's like it's just not changing that fast. You just really got to work on it, and it's just so much easier just to have that perspective and that human touch on it. I think that's what makes it unique. So
yeah, for sure,
I can definitely agree with that. So where do you see businesses over automated today?
Well, I think a lot of customer interactions are over automated, just in general. I mean, I think that, a few years ago, and it's still there, is our, our chat bot, right? So it's I look at it, every customer interaction is an opportunity for a win or a loss. And I think the more automation, automation is good, but you have to really think about it. I mean, to the AI chatbot, the chat bubble at the bottom, right? It's like these companies have them, they're great. And I get asked this question all the time. It's like, should I have one of those? And I say, can you answer the questions? Like, well, no, I'll just have AI do it. I say, okay, you need to sit down for 3 weeks and literally have a question of every question the customer's ever asked you, and then fragment those questions out to the different ways they would ask you, and then make sure you answer all those questions before that's valuable. Or you need to just have a person that's available for the hours that you want that to be. And I think those are the problems. It's over automation of those systems. Look, back of house, automate the crap out of it, right? But any of those areas where we're customer focused, whether that's emails that come after forms, whether we're dealing with your CRM systems, you got to really think through those, because it's an opportunity to, on the one side, sell something more, but at very least, it's an opportunity to create a better relationship with that customer. On the bad side, you can turn people off super fast, right? I mean, it's like, I don't want to deal with them because I'm never going to get this answer.
Exactly. And from a business owner standpoint, they're thinking, oh man, that makes me available 24/7. But those little nuggets of someone coming to your site and actually asking a question on chatbot, that's when, that is amazing opportunity. It's a huge opportunity. It's like, you do not want to automate that, because it's just going to end so badly 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, you finally got them there, right?
Yeah,
you finally got them there. They clicked on a couple pages. They want to interact with you, and you're going to leave that over to some automated system. Not good. Yeah.
I mean, some of my best clients have come from just they submitted the form. And it came to my email, and I was like, "Hey, I'm reaching back out to you. This is great. I see you're doing such and such." You know, that I would, you got to have some way to contact you. Absolutely. But see, they're used to a form. Okay, I'll fill out the form, or I'll fill out the book an event or whatever. But that's coming to me into my inbox. That's not going to AI, and AI is not doing anything with it, because that's so important to me. Like, I need to get that. And I need to make sure that pipeline works 100%. So
it's a huge win too. You talk about, so the more and more AI is great, the more and more automation is great. You want to really win something? I've won more business in the last few months because I get the request, and I have other salespeople too, but I love to take them. It's where I fit, and I answer them. And do I know how to answer them? Do I have some cribbed information? For sure. But I actually review the person's website. We ask them a couple questions in the form, but I review their website. I'm like, I think this, I read their message, right? They don't get back some automated thing. They don't ever get back that. What they do get back is usually within a couple of hours. Let's say if it's overnight, maybe 10 hours at most, but they get back a real email from me. And the responses I got, I mean, I'm like, this is old school selling, right? This why would you not contact these people if they, again, I finally got them there. They were interested enough to fill out a form. Then
that means they got something they need, or you have something they need. So, I mean, that's the hardest part right there, is like, I'm going to be able to provide you a service, and you need it. So like, that's that's a hard lead, right? I mean, that's a good win. So hard to get those.
The other key failure is not listening. I've coached more salespeople on, your job is 80% listening, 20% talking. I mean, it is 100%. We've got to, if you will listen to your prospects, they will tell you what they need. If you don't have what they need, don't sell them something, right? But if you do, then I get calls all the time, and it just annoys the crap out of me. It's like they're trying to sell me something without an understanding if I even need that thing or desire it. And that only happens if we listen.
Yeah, because if you're trying to sell them on all the things you got to offer, you don't even know if they already have all those things.
Fits, right?
Like, if it fits, if it's you're trying to sell them all this. Oh, I already have a WordPress site, and you didn't hear that. Well, I got this great WordPress. It's like, okay, you got to listen. Absolutely got to listen. And I love that. And I love that, what you do is you pretty much take a lot of that responsibility. I'm going to touch back on that again, because I think that's so important. So many companies, they don't want to have to learn SEO, local SEO, and all that stuff. They just don't. They just want to be relevant in their area of service that they're offering. That's really what they want. And for you, that's great, because you're like, man, I'm gonna learn all this stuff. I'm gonna learn what AEO is. I'm gonna learn what SEO is, and I'm gonna make sure your site meets all those rankings. And that ultimately, they're like, okay, that's worth it to me. Here, So absolutely. So how can leaders use AI without losing that human element that creates trust? And you touched about it again.
You got to spend a lot of time, I mean, I think so, most people have heard this by now, but context is the biggest thing. You can do whatever you want. Let me get this right? But I'm telling you, if you want to leverage it, if you want it to be a real tool, you need to spend the time to teach the chat, teach the project, teach the whatever, right? You need to give it, not just even, the simplest thing is, right, if I'm going to ask a question about, hey, I'm going, I'd love to go on a trip to Tahiti. Where should I go? You can ask that question. That's not that useful. Or you can say, hey, I'm a family of 5 with these people of this age who really like these things. We like to dive. We like to sightsee. We like to do this. We like to give it enough context. Oh, my father-in-law is coming and he has difficulty walking. We only want to go from this time to this time. We don't want to stay where there's stairs. Whatever those things are, but you get the idea. When it comes to business needs, so for instance, I've developed basically a personal assistant. I use Claude Code for that. I named it NAMI. I spent probably collectively at this point about 100 hours building a voice and this is applied to both Claude and to Nami because
Right.
she runs on Claude Code. But I have, for instance, a 15-page document that describes my voice personally, and a separate one that describes my voice for Sunny HQ.
Right.
We also have a guiding standard operating procedure that I have a system called the Loop, which defines essentially the working parameters for how I run business. So it's rooted in, it's not just that, yeah, it covers technical things and passwords and FTP and all the things, but it also covers the process by which we conduct ourselves, right? How we speak to our customers, where we push back, how we push back, the guardrails for what it can and can't touch. So, you've got to spend the time and effort if you really want it to be something that you can leverage. I look at it like this way. When you hire staff, you get to know them.
Right.
Well, imagine if you get to tell them who they are. So it's almost like, and that's honestly, I built a marketing department that's AI, and it literally has a creative director, a design director, a coder, a designer, and I completely design the characteristics for how that person interacts, the skills that they have, who they are literally as a person if they were a person. And if you take the time to do that, you can leverage some really powerful systems that can help you do everything from just schedule your life to keep you on track to build business systems.
Right.
But the key is you've got to really build enough around those for it to work well.
Yeah. So I don't think people are doing that. I don't think people want to put that 100 hours in yet. Maybe they like the idea of it. Oh, I can have an AI assistant, but there's
you
only
can baby step. Yeah. I mean,
and I think
baby
that's
step.
it.
Yeah. That's I started with very easily, right? When I developed Nami, that system, I recognized up front, it's like, oh, I'm going to talk to, okay. So it's like this, here's a small example, right? Most people that I know I set different notifications on my phone. Why? Because if my son sends me text messages to get more time on his phone and it pings a certain way, I don't want that to be an annoying sound, right? So the same thing goes for AI. It's like, oh, I'm going to talk to this thing all the time. So I don't want to talk to a robot. So I said, oh, before I even get to, I'm going to design the way that Nami interacts with me. She's fun and energetic and is humorous, but not patronizing. She doesn't have yuck jokes. So you get the idea, because if I'm going to talk to this thing all the time, then and so that was a couple hours. I built that, then I did, but then the value I got over the next month was like, wow, this thing now. I wake up every morning at 6:01. There's a daily briefing that covers my emails that came in overnight, my calendar items, all the things on my to-do list, any open-ended notes in my notes. She organizes all that, reminds me of what's. So then I stayed there for a while, right? Yeah. Then I added something on top of that. So it's not like you have to go, oh my gosh, here's this big project. And for most people, you learn along the way, right? You're going to say, the minute you're saying, hey, could I solve it this way? Or could I do this thing repeatedly? Ask Claude, right? Yep. Give it all that information. Hey, I do this repeatedly and I need a way out. It's going to at least make some recommendations.
And you're going to be able to see which ones, okay, this is something I can do. Yeah. And you can just talk back to it and let it know, hey, this is a little bit out of my but here's something I'd like to do. And it'll refine it to match that. Absolutely. I got the same thing. I have an email every morning that comes in from everything from overnight. Just writes it all up, gives me tasks, everything. Just says, hey, here's everything you missed. Man, that saved me so much time than having to go through all my emails to try to catch back up. I already got this one email that had everything that I missed when I fell asleep to the time I woke up. And now I'm like, okay, and I take that and I work off of that. And that's the things I need to work on or whatever. So very cool.
And you can get super granular too. So I had this situation, I use Spark for email, and every once in a while, a message that I sent, let's say you sent me a message, I sent you one back. And of course, when I get your reply, typically it's unread. Or it's read. Oh, it's unread, right? And every once in a while, though, somehow that would trigger read, even though I never clicked on it, and I would miss it. And it doesn't happen that often, but when it happens, whether it's for a support thing or for new business, to me, it's traumatic, right? I'm like, I need to be on top of that. So one day I said, hey, Nami, this is what happens. Can you please do a regular search for any of my read emails where you do not see that I replied, and send me, because she's in Telegram, and send me a note that's urgent. And it has been great. Not a lot, right? But over the past couple of months, 5 or 6 of those, hey, Dylan, you didn't respond to this on time. And those are things that could have gone a couple of days. And so there's all these really wonderful things that once you think about it, you're like, I promise you, you can figure it out with Claude. That's the cool thing, right? You can,
absolutely.
if you have a question, you're just like, ask it, and it will help you figure out what the answer is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So let's talk a little bit about the 7 mirrors.
Yeah.
So you're writing a book called The 7 Mirrors. What inspired that project?
Yeah, what inspired it was really a lot of personal growth. 10 years of a lot of deep questions about what I wanted in my life, what went wrong, how I was coming back from that, the new path I'd chosen. And really, honestly, I have practiced some plant medicines and things like that. And I'm a regular attendant of a Temescal. For those people that aren't familiar with that, it's a sweat lodge, a native sweat lodge. And in one of the ceremonies, the person leading it actually looked at me, and I didn't really know him. And he said, Dylan, you need to use your voice more. I really hadn't spoken much in the thing. I'd said a few things and expressed appreciation. And it really sat with me because I'd thought about writing a book for a long time. But again, I was saying, who wants to hear anything from me? Not that I'm nobody, but the reality is I'm not a celebrity. I think a lot of the path that I've had, but I don't know who will relate to that. And what came out of him saying that is me figuring out, though, more importantly, what that needed to look like. And so what I've written is story driven, but it's not a memoir. I'm really clear in that. And what I learned in the process, and really I just started writing the book for me. I didn't know that it would ever be a manuscript or book. And eventually it did, and I had to ask myself a bunch of harder questions. But the 7 mirrors I call it a recognition framework. It's really focused on people who were in my position, right? These high achieving leaders who built something real, but who recognize something's just really missing. And the other thing I've learned is it's not about, I don't believe that our progress or journey in life is about becoming a higher version of ourselves. I love that term, but it doesn't sit well with me. But what I really learned in this process is I believe it's more about simply remembering the person that was always there. I believe we're born perfect, and with social conditioning and parents and our tribe and all these things, right? We're told that it doesn't matter how perfect your upbringing was. You're told to be something without most of us having the real, I guess, understanding or insight to ask ourselves what we want to be. And so the book really walks through and uses mirrors as really a metaphor for reflection, right? For I'm reflecting on the people around me and the patterns in my life and the idea of responding over reacting. And so it's about, once you start to understand, at its base, the patterns and those patterns that keep repeating. And I'll be really honest, if you're willing to ask yourself some hard questions and move forward in your life, you'll see the healing that happens in that environment. You'll see the world open up for you. Again, once you allow yourself to sit with those moments and explore that, that's what the book really walks you through. It's peppered in with, everything from things that happened to me that I just described during the bankruptcy to even most recently, all kinds of experiences with, I've got 3 kids and a happy marriage now. Wasn't always that way. But kids are our biggest teachers, and that leads a lot of the stories, but it's really, my hope is that people will, who feel the need, who feel something missing in their life, will really look at this and recognize it's an opportunity for them to ask themselves what they want in their life and then move forward.
Yeah. And so, I think for a lot of us as entrepreneurs and trying to do exactly what you're saying, what have you learned about your identity through entrepreneurship?
Well, that probably the biggest thing is that my identity is not tied to it, right?
Yeah.
That my identity is not tied um, to Sunny HQ. It's not even really tied to this book or tied to coaching. You know, the reality is my job is to continue to remember the pieces that make me me, and celebrate the relationships in my life, and explore and experience wonder. And you know, when it comes to the things I do for a living, that I'm literally doing them to enable the rest of that instead of the other way around. It used to
Right.
be, oh, I'm doing, you know, this advertising agency, this design agency, and the rest just happens if it can. You know, to me, that's completely backwards.
Right. Yeah. You got to start separating that identity.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Can agree with that more. So we reached that part where I'm going to hit you with some rapid fire questions.
sure, fire
So,
away.
so let's see. What's one business belief you no longer hold?
Oh, that you know, what I sell is for everyone, or that I need to have everyone buy it.
Oh, yeah.
Alignment is super important to me. Alignment means that, you know, if you don't need what I have, then I'm not going to sell it to you. In
Yeah.
fact, I'm going to sell you away from it.
Yep.
It's important that there's alignment.
Very good. So, what's the best advice a mentor ever gave you?
Mark Heron told me, build a business that is, you know, it's when I was running an agency. He said, build a business that where all of your business processes are documented. Especially this is for our entrepreneurs out there. The business should not be about you. It should be about whatever the company name is. You should be building processes, and then wherever you can, and I think nearly every business has this ability, build in reoccurring revenue opportunities. Those are the two things. He said, business processes and reoccurring revenue.
What habit creates the most clarity in your life?
If it's one, I would say breath work. Recognizing that for most of my life and most people out there, you breathe from right here up.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we talk fast. That's why we're really into things. All that breath is stuck in our head. I take a minute before every call, before most emails, definitely before a podcast, and I slow down, take a deep breath. And those periods help guide everything. If there's only one thing you can do is literally, we think because we breathe all the time, we know how to breathe. Most people, when they get any breath work instruction, which by the way is not a hard thing,
Yeah.
you don't need a class or that kind of stuff. You know, the
You just need
reality
one
is,
chiropractic visit,
yeah,
trust me.
yeah,
Because they
yeah,
tell you
but
all the time, take a
yeah,
deep breath. And what are they doing?
yeah,
They're relaxing you because they're
yeah,
about ready to pop your back,
yeah,
pop your
that's
neck
right.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's
So,
it. Yeah.
absolutely. So, what book has influenced your leadership thinking the most?
You know, it's a toss up. You know, it's, believe it or not, it's going to be a tie. The two guiding things that I had from the very beginning. One is a book by Thich Nhat Hanh called "Peace is Every Step." He's this beautiful Vietnamese monk that passed a couple of years ago. I highly recommend it. I used to buy stacks of them and hand them out to people. And then the other one that started me on my journey was, believe it or not, Jen Sincero, "You're a Badass."
Okay.
It is immediately helpful in both the personal side of your life and in business. It actually, I took a course from her after I read the book. It was when she actually would do the online courses with 8 people, and her process helped me to build Sunny HQ. You're supposed to come into that process with something you wanted to accomplish,
Right.
and it quite literally gave me all the tools that I needed to create. She's not a business coach, right?
Right.
She wasn't walking through how to do it. It's more you figuring out how to organize your life so that you can appropriately move through these giant things in a methodical way and not freak out, essentially.
Yeah.
But beautiful book. You're a
Okay.
badass.
Awesome. Yeah, I asked that question more personally because I just always like to hear what someone's recommendations
Yeah.
on some great books are.
Yeah.
But my audience gets to benefit from that as well.
Yeah.
So for the entrepreneur listening right now who feels trapped by the business they built, what's the first step toward creating more freedom and alignment?
You know, I'd say the first thing you need to do is honestly write down what you want out of your life. I mean, this is where it starts. This is not a business question to me. It's a business problem But your question first needs to be, because I don't know, I mean, this could be anybody, and I don't know if they're stressed because of their marriage and their kids, or if it's business things, but you need to ask yourself, like, what do you want more of in life? And then back out of that, right?
Yeah.
So I love this thing that, and this has been said over and over and over, in order to get anywhere in life, we only need to know two things: where we are, that's usually pretty easy, right? I know I'm right here, but I need to know where I want to go, right? I don't need to know how to get there. The nutshell, NASA, right, going to the moon, they'd never been before.
Yeah.
They didn't know exactly how to get there, but they knew where they wanted to go. They planned in 10-kilometer bursts. Okay, we're off course. What do? You course correct.
Right.
And that's what we need for our lives. But in order for you to do that, you've got to know where you want to go. Then you can start to say, well, okay, how do I get there? What's the first step? Or what are all the steps? Now, what's the step today? And what's the step next week? But it starts with that question.
Absolutely. And I love the analogy with the course correct part of it, because I think you need a piece of that too. You need to know if you're off your trajectory. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dylan, where can people connect with you and learn more about Sunny HQ?
It's really easy, Sunny HQ. Just go to sunnyhq.io. And if you go to sunnyhq.io/podcast, we've got a free PDF giveaway. You just give us your email address, and it's a great tool. It will give you just a few questions to ask yourself about your own website. And there's an optimization tool where you can put your website in and gain a lot of insights, just so that you can have an understanding, how is your website performing across a lot of different metrics.
Yeah, love it. Man, it was awesome. It was really awesome having you on my podcast, Dylan. I really appreciate it. And this was just a really great conversation. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks for listening to I'm Up, He Sees Me, I'm Down. Follow the show for more conversations on leadership, faith, and resilience. Sponsored by Alamo Tech and Mission Solution Partners.